Part 1, The Dismissal. I was just a kid trying to do the right thing. It started in the police station lobby, where I sat for over an hour, clutching a flash drive in my hand. I had walked 3 miles to get there after what happened at the park. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted someone to listen. When the officer finally called me up, he didn't even look at me. "What's this about?" I told him I had video proof of a serious incident, one involving a man in uniform crossing a line. I explained it calmly, clearly. I offered the footage. He leaned back in his chair, arms folded, smirk spreading across his face like I was performing a stand-up routine. "You caught something serious on video," he chuckled. "What is this, some TikTok prank? Come on, kid. Go play ball or something." My heart thudded. "I'm not joking, sir. It's real. I just want someone to see it. Please." He picked up the flash drive with 2 fingers like it was covered in gum and tossed it into a drawer. "We'll take a look eventually. Maybe. Next." I didn't move. But, he cut me off. "You done wasting my time?" I opened my mouth to speak again, and then the front door opened. Every head in that room turned. A towering figure stepped inside, wearing sunglasses, a black hoodie, and an unmistakable presence. It was LeBron James. And he wasn't smiling. The room went silent like someone had pressed mute on the world. Phones dropped. Chairs squeaked. Even the cocky officer who'd laughed at me blinked like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. LeBron James walked straight up to the front desk, removed his sunglasses, and looked directly at the officer who had just dismissed me. "You in charge here?" he asked, voice calm but firm. The officer stood up slowly. Well. I guess you could say that." LeBron glanced down at me, then back at the officer. "This young man came here with evidence." "You laughed." "I didn't mean, save it," LeBron interrupted, reaching into his coat and pulling out a second flash drive. "You ignored him." "But I didn't. I've seen the footage. So have my legal team, my foundation, and half a dozen people who actually care." He placed the drive on the counter gently. "This copy's going to the press in 2 hours unless something changes fast." A woman from the back, a higher-ranking sergeant by the looks of her uniform, rushed out from behind a door, clearly panicked. "Mr. James, if you'll allow us," he raised a hand, stopping her mid-sentence. "No more stalling. He came here first. Not me. But you didn't listen to him until someone like me walked in. That's the real problem." I stood frozen, barely able to process what was happening. Then LeBron looked at me again. "You ready to show them the truth?" I nodded slowly, hands shaking but steady enough to hold the flash drive. And in that moment, the cop who once laughed, didn't look like he was laughing anymore. They rushed us into a conference room, fast. Not because they suddenly cared, but because LeBron James was now in the building. 2 captains, 1 deputy chief, and 3 other officers suddenly appeared like ghosts out of nowhere. I sat at the far end of the table with my backpack on my lap, and LeBron sat beside me, arms crossed, watching every move. An IT tech rolled in a monitor and laptop. The room was tense. Nobody said much. The same officer who had laughed at me earlier, Officer Reynolds, stood in the corner with his jaw clenched, now noticeably quieter. His nameplate gleamed under the fluorescent lights like it was daring someone to read it. The chief gestured to me. "You said you had footage?" I nodded and pulled out the original flash drive. "It's all on here. No edits. Time-stamped." LeBron leaned forward. "Play it." The tech plugged it in and opened the file. A video popped up, shaky at first, but then it stabilized. It showed the park, just 2 nights ago. A group of officers surrounding a man on a bench. He wasn't resisting. He was just sitting there. Calm. Hands visible. And then things escalated, fast. The sound on the recording was clear. "Where's your ID?" "I don't have it on me. You think this is a game?" The man tried to explain, but the officers didn't care. One grabbed his shirt, another shoved him down. You could hear the man's voice crack, terrified. He kept saying, "I live here, I live right over there." They didn't listen. By the time it ended, there was a bruise under the man's eye and blood on his lip. All for sitting in the wrong place at the wrong time. The room was dead silent. Until LeBron said 3 words, "Now do something." The chief cleared his throat. We'll need to open an internal review." LeBron didn't even blink. "No. That's not enough." Officer Reynolds finally spoke up, trying to reclaim control. "This kid was filming without permission." LeBron stood. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. But the weight in his voice made the air feel heavier. "You laid hands on an innocent man without cause. You mocked this teenager for doing what every adult should have done, document the truth. And now you're scrambling because the cameras caught more than you wanted." Everyone looked down. Except me. I looked right at Officer Reynolds. "Why'd you laugh?" I asked him, voice steady. He didn't answer. LeBron placed a hand on my shoulder. "You were brave enough to stand alone. You shouldn't have had to. That changes now." He turned to the chief. "We want a formal public apology. Immediate suspension of all involved. And legal representation for the man in that video, on my dime." The deputy chief tried to push back. "That's not how LeBron cut him off. "Then I'll do it my way. I'll walk outside right now and tell the press everything. And trust me, there's already a crowd forming." The chief swallowed hard. "Give us 10 minutes. "No," LeBron said. "You've already had days." He looked back at me. "Let's go." We walked out of that conference room, and down the hall, past every officer who had ignored me earlier. They didn't speak. Some looked ashamed. Some just looked scared. Outside the station, a growing crowd of cameras and reporters was waiting. And for the first time in days, I wasn't nervous. The moment we stepped outside, a wall of flashbulbs lit up the front of the station. Reporters pushed microphones forward. Cameramen scrambled for angles. People in the crowd held up their phones, already live streaming. LeBron didn't flinch. He placed both hands on the podium that someone had hastily wheeled out and waited for the noise to die. Then he looked right into the cameras. "This young man," he said, motioning to me, "brought hard evidence to the authorities. He wasn't taken seriously. He was laughed at. Ignored. Brushed off like he didn't matter." He paused. "But he does matter. And so does the truth." A few reporters started shouting questions, but LeBron raised a hand and kept going. "The footage is real. It shows excessive force. No context justifies it. The man in that video wasn't resisting, wasn't armed, wasn't aggressive. And yet, he was treated like a threat, for sitting on a park bench." Behind us, the glass doors of the precinct opened again. The chief stepped out with a paper in his hand and a red face. Everyone turned as he walked slowly toward the second mic. He cleared his throat, looked around nervously, and began reading. "On behalf of the department, we acknowledge a failure in judgment regarding the incident recorded at Riverside Park and the treatment of the citizen who submitted the footage." He kept going, but I barely heard it. Because as he spoke, people in the crowd started clapping. Not for him. For me. And for the first time, I realized, I hadn't just been heard. I had been believed. And that changes everything. After the chief's statement ended, awkward, half-hearted, and clearly coached, reporters turned their cameras toward me. They wanted to hear my voice now. At first, I froze. I wasn't used to being asked questions, only doubted, brushed aside, or told to be quiet. But then LeBron leaned toward me and whispered, "Tell them what you know. Not what they want. What's real." So I stepped up to the mic. "My name is Jordan Harris. I'm 16. And I saw something that wasn't right." I heard the murmurs ripple through the crowd. I didn't film that video for likes. I filmed it because no one else was watching. I brought it here because I thought it was what you were supposed to do, tell the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. I took a breath. But when I tried to do that, I got laughed at. I was told to go play ball instead of being listened to like a person. I paused again, glancing at LeBron, who gave a small nod. "I'm not here because I want fame. I'm here because I still believe that if enough people stand up, even one kid like me, then maybe people in charge will finally start doing what's right." There was a silence, then a wave of applause. Not just polite. Real. People weren't just watching anymore, they were with me. And somewhere behind the cameras, I saw someone step forward. The man from the video, the one who'd been shoved down. He had a bandage over his eyebrow and tired eyes. But when he looked at me, he smiled. He stepped closer, the crowd parting without a word. Reporters recognized him, whispering to each other. But he didn't care about them. He only looked at me. I stepped off the platform and met him halfway. He extended his hand, firm but gentle. "Name's Mr. Langston." "Jordan," I said quietly. "You saved me," he said. "And I don't just mean physically. You reminded me that somebody still cares." We shook hands in front of dozens of flashing lights, but it didn't feel like a spectacle. It felt like something real had just taken root. LeBron walked over and nodded to Mr. Langston. "We're getting you a lawyer. A real one. Not someone sent to patch things up. Someone who'll fight." Mr. Langston's voice cracked. "You don't have to, we already did," LeBron said. Behind us, reporters began shouting again. "Jordan, what do you want to happen now? Will you press charges against the officer? Are you working with LeBron's foundation now?" I turned to the cameras. "I want every kid who's been ignored to know this, your voice is powerful. Don't let anyone laugh you out of using it. You're not a joke. You're not a problem. You're part of the solution." Then I turned to LeBron. "And yeah, I'm ready to do more." He smiled and placed a hand on my shoulder. "Good. Because we've got work to do." The press conference ended, but the ripple had only started. By nightfall, the story was everywhere, on news broadcasts, social media, podcasts. Not because of the footage alone, but because a 16-year-old kid had stood his ground when no one would listen. That same night, LeBron invited me and Mr. Langston to a roundtable event at a local community center. Not just cameras, real leaders. Lawyers, educators, athletes, even a former judge. LeBron opened the session. "This isn't about a single moment. It's about fixing the system that made that moment possible." Jordan reminded us that you don't need a title to do the right thing, you just need the courage to speak up. He gestured to me to take the mic again. I hesitated, just for a second. But then I remembered that moment in the police station, how small I felt. How wrong that was. I stepped forward. I used to think nobody would believe me. I thought my voice didn't matter unless someone famous stood next to me. But that's a lie. What matters is truth. What matters is standing up, even when you're scared. Mr. Langston nodded beside me. His eyes were glassy, but he didn't look broken anymore. He looked strong. LeBron clapped, and the whole room followed. The next day, we launched something new, the Jordan Initiative, a partnership between LeBron's foundation and local communities to give teens the tools to document, report, and protect the truth. Not just with cameras. With confidence. With support. With power. And for once, I wasn't the one watching change on a screen. I was helping build it. It didn't take long for the fallout to hit the ones who tried to ignore me. Officer Reynolds, the one who laughed, was placed on administrative leave within 48 hours. But that wasn't the end. Thanks to the footage, the department's internal affairs team reopened 2 previous complaints against him. Ones that had been filed incorrectly or misplaced. Suddenly, patterns started emerging. Stories that had been dismissed now had credibility. Mr. Langston filed an official civil case, backed by one of the best legal teams in the country. Not for revenge. For accountability. The department, trying to control the narrative, held another press conference. But this time, no one was distracted by empty statements. The public had seen the footage. They had heard my story. And now, they were watching closely. The mayor reached out. So did the state attorney general's office. People who once wouldn't return my emails were suddenly asking how they could help. But the wildest moment. A message request popped up on my phone from a verified account, Michelle Obama. She wrote, "Proud of you. Keep speaking. Keep showing up." I stared at the screen for a full minute before showing LeBron. He laughed and handed me his phone. "Want me to get her on the line?" I couldn't even speak. I just nodded. A week later, I stood backstage at a massive auditorium in D.C., gripping the sides of the podium I was about to walk out to. The event was called Voices Rising, a national summit for youth advocacy and justice reform. I wasn't just attending. I was the keynote speaker. LeBron introduced me from the side of the stage, calling me a leader built by circumstance, but defined by choice. I walked out to thunderous applause, but I wasn't thinking about the crowd, or the cameras. I was thinking about that first day, sitting alone in a police station lobby with a flash drive and hope that felt like it was slipping through my fingers. Now I had something stronger than hope. I had proof that one voice, especially when backed by truth, could start a wave no one saw coming. I spoke for 10 minutes. About Mr. Langston. About the system. About the laugh that tried to silence me, and the moment it stopped. And when I finished, the crowd stood up again. After the speech, Michelle Obama met me backstage. She hugged me like we'd known each other for years and whispered, "Keep going. They'll listen now, but only if you keep speaking." As I left the stage, I saw Officer Reynolds' face one last time, on a news update flashing across a lobby screen. Under investigation for misconduct. But I didn't stop to read it. Because I wasn't looking back. I had work to do.